All right, what's up, peeps? Joshua Smith here at GSD Mode Studios, and here in a couple minutes, you guys, my mentor is going to be joining me. We're going to do a Facebook Live here today, or not a Facebook Live, sorry, an Instagram Live today with my mentor, Ryan Blair, just so I can introduce you guys to Ryan and give the opportunity for you guys to ask any questions that you have. So that way that you can get dialed in, man. Get dialed in on what the moves are that we need to make as business owners, as entrepreneurs, to go out there and create the most success that we possibly can inside our businesses, whatever type of businesses that you operate and run. So really stoked for this. We've got about a minute and just over a minute before he'll be jumping on live here with us. And exciting times, man. So he'll be joining us here in just a few. I got to admit, this is my first Instagram Live, so trying to get all of this figured out and get this rocking and rolling, so hopefully we don't have any tech issues here as he jumps on. And just so those of you know, and there's a lot of you joining in right now and saying what's up, and truly, truly appreciate that. Just so you guys know, I want to give you some backstory to Ryan Blair. So Ryan Blair has been a serial entrepreneur for several decades now, and has been my favorite all-time entrepreneur just to learn from, to study from. I first learned about him through his books, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, as well as Rock Bottom to Rock Star. And so at first it started off being mentored by him through his books and through his YouTube channel and podcasts. And then was blessed enough to have him on my podcast and to develop a friendship, meet him in person, and now to be mentored by him on a weekly level. And this is a guy that is now, over the last couple of decades, has created and exited from over $1 billion in business, right? His last business just exited from about $700 million business exit. So this is a dude that absolutely knows what he's doing at an extremely high level. So we'll be bringing him on. He should be joining here any second. And Brian, what's up, my man? You might have to walk me through this when Ryan joins, dude. I see that you're on right now. So as soon as Ryan joins, I'll have to see how this goes, bringing him in on this. But we'll get started here in just a couple seconds, you guys. I'm just kind of watching the comment thread here for when I see Ryan joining. Scott says, "Hey, what's up, my dude? How often do you update your coaching program?" It's always updated, dude. So anything that I'm doing live inside my business, my real estate business, is always up to date and live inside the Mastery Bootcamp. So and it's a very it has a very heavy live component to it as well. All right, so Ryan just joined here. All right, boom. So I'm getting connected. Just got the request to go live with. All right, I accepted the request here. All right, so Brian says Ryan Blair just sold his previous company for $792 million. So Brian works on Ryan's team. That's what I was telling Brian that he might have to help me get dialed in here on this here. All right. So I just got your request, Ryan. If you can hear this, I just approved that. It says that it's connected. Boom, there we go. What's up,
my brother? Good to see you.
You too, dude. So stoked to have you on, man.
Thank you.
You know, we just wrapped up our second podcast together, and you know, I know I've already told you this, but just for those that are viewing this, I just want everybody to know the story. When I created the GSD Mode podcast 5 years ago, my dream of what winning of the podcast, like what winning would look like to me going down that path, was to have Ryan Blair on the podcast. And now I've been blessed to have you on twice. The last interview we did was actually in your home. And now I guess kind of here a third time here on Instagram Live, man. So, just blessed and honored to, man, to have you as a friend, have you as a mentor. And, I just want to thank you, man. I mean, you're one of these guys that doesn't need to be doing and giving in the way that you are, right? I mean, you're dude that's financially set for life. And man, it's just so inspiring and extremely helpful with all your guidance and all that you do for all of us, man. So I just can't thank you enough, and it's just so honored to know you and roll with you, my friend.
Well, thank you, my brother. I appreciate being able to bond with you, connect with you, having you came to an experience at my home before the lockdown, and it was just perfect timing that we got to do the work that we've been able to do, and now to be able to work with you on an ongoing basis has been a privilege. So it's funny how things work out, right? So you set a goal, and the goal came to reality. Now you have a great podcast, you're serving people, and and that's what my heart is really called to do as well, is to serve. So anything I could share with you and your audience, I love to share and teach. So I'm happy to help.
Yeah, I love it, man. And during these times like we're experiencing right now, times of crisis, this is what it seems to really shake out, like who is a true leader and who's not. The true leaders are stepping up, and you're stepping up at such a hardcore level. And I'm blessed to be in your coaching mentorship program. And last night you had such a powerful message for all of us. And you talked about being proactive during this time. And there's really three parts to this first question that I'm going to ask you. But when it comes to being proactive right now, because we've got to be proactive with our thoughts, proactive with our mindset, proactive with our health, right? But then also proactive with our business. Those of us that are entrepreneurs, which I know everybody that's watching this is. Can you go a little bit deeper into ways that you're being proactive right now, and any tips for anybody that's watching this at any point?
Yeah, well, so one, depending on where you're at in your entrepreneurial career, I built a business that got up to $600+ million a year in sales and $100 million in profit. And I've always been a model-driven person. So I like to create a business model and then tweak and refine the business model, and to the point where I have some optimization and some things working. And so at times like this, we have to review all of our assumptions and review all of the drivers of our business, because everything changed. So right now we have to go back to the drawing board and look at our business model, and then look at the assumptions that drive it, and then re-engineer it. And so I have a brand new startup, AlterCall, which you participated in, that I just started in late October. And I launched a product, made some adjustments, started refining the product, and then all of a sudden I realized that product no longer was going to work. It was a high-end experience where people would come into my private home like you did, and we would do transformational work together. And people can't travel. People are going to be reluctant to travel, reluctant to be exposed in any group format whatsoever. So we've had to pivot to a virtual, to doing our transformation day experience virtually. And we've had to pivot to doing free content now, where before people were more open to paying for content. Now people are very conscious about how much they're spending, and some people have lost jobs, and so we wanted to show up differently. So we're a nimble, small, brand new startup. My last company, though, in 2008, I was doing about 25 million a year in sales, and I made some big time adjustments to the business model, changed everything about the company. And by 2010, I knew I was onto something. And by 2012, I had the fastest growing company in all of the NYSE. We went from 9 million a year in sales to 600 million a year in sales in about 24 months. So yeah, the things that you're doing now can make a big difference.
Yeah, love it, man. So then, and you're a guy. This will be really your third recession, big recession. That you the first recession, which was the .com, bubble. And you were in the middle of tech companies during that time, and you created
My timing is perfect.
Yeah, but look, dude, you were proactive. You were able to shift, pivot, and come out way ahead in that. And then the last recession, when you built Visalis really, exploded during those times. And for those that, because right now it's tough to know what to think. You have a lot of economists right now that are like, oh, once the quarantine is over with the stimulus and everything, there's going to be a surge of, a surge back into the economy, and things will recover. And then you have kind of the other camp of, man, this is going to get ready and hold on and be ready, right? What is entrepreneurs, man, what can we do to prepare, being a guy that's built so many successful companies in recessions, what can we do to really prepare for what's to come?
Yeah, well, for one, you have to just look at your marketplace. So I always think to myself, what's everybody else doing? And right now people are in retraction. So the big competitors that we all have out there, they're having to make big time adjustments to their business. They're having to lay off people. That gives us an opportunity to innovate. So when the big companies out there are not innovating because they're having to cut programs, cut products, they're having to figure out how to survive. That energy that they have to utilize for survival is not going to give them the type of energy they need to create and to innovate. And so you might have a year head start on a new business idea, a new approach to the marketplace than the big people out there. In the real estate world, for example, if you had 100 listings right now and all those listings are freaking out about the marketplace, you're doing it with a lot of phone calls with listings, right? Versus going out there and pursuing new listings and pursuing, new buyers that are perhaps opportunity oriented right now, or, they have cash and so they're looking to get deals, right? So if you're stuck in the old marketplace because you have built a significant infrastructure with the old economy, then you're not going to move quickly into the new economy and make the adjustments quickly. So you have a window of opportunity to come out with new ideas, new ways to serve the marketplace, and new innovations in the marketplace that did not exist 3 weeks ago. So it's a real benefit to you. The second thing is there's going to be a lot of competition going out of business. There'll be a lot of competition in retraction, and there'll be a lot of people in denial. So they'll just say, oh, it's going to get back to normal. They're in denial. They're going to deny, and that's just the nature of human beings. And so if you make sure that you're not one of those people in denial, you're willing to deal with whatever times come your way, and you've made the adjustments for that, you're going to win in the marketplace. You might have to work a lot harder to make it, commission or, get a paycheck, but you won't be in denial. There's people out there with money to invest. There's people out there, with a desire to buy, and now they're going to be looking for deals, but you have to be meeting the buyer where they're at in the real estate context. And it's just going to be a lot harder. You're going to have to do a lot more work than you had to do before. But, that's what these times call for. They shake out the people who are getting by easy, and the people that have figured out lazy ways to be successful will not do well in the new normal that we're dealing with right now. Now, I don't do very well in those markets. Like, that's when I rest, because I'm like, if everybody's making money in the marketplace, it's not a real marketplace. If money's free and prices are going up and people are buying and the consumer is spending, everybody can make money. And that's not really where I thrive. I thrive when, you have to make tough decisions and you have to make the adjustments to the marketplace, and you have to innovate. And that's how I've built successful companies.
Love it, man. So then, I know none of us have a crystal ball, but you're probably the most, I guess, studied. I mean, you're such a student and you have such a big knowledge base. And I know, again, none of us have a crystal ball. We can't predict exactly what's going to happen. But for those that may not be aware of maybe the severity that this coronavirus is going to catapult us in, whether it's a recession or who knows what, I mean, what are, whether it's a prediction or just to, again, advice for preparing for the long haul. I mean, what can we expect that we're in for here?
Yeah, well, I was telling someone the other day, there's, if you're familiar with like the aging system, we have like BC, before Common Era, some say before Christ, and then you have after. We're going to have a new BC. It's going to be before Corona and after Corona. It's going to change everything. The amount of unemployment that we're seeing, the fear that we have in our health, the fact that we have to stay home with our children, that's going to take a lot of people down in their income and their spending ability, and it's going to, put pressure on a lot of families. Isolation is going to be for a period of time until we have a cure and until we have, we have security that our family's not going to, get sick, and we're not going to start this epidemic all over again. And that's going to take time. So, all of the scientific reports that I've read say it's going to take, a year to 18 months until we have, until we're able to know that we beat the coronavirus. And until that happens, the sentiment of the marketplace, which is what all stocks trade from, it's what all the consumerism is built on, is sentiment. If the consumer feels strong about the economy, then the consumer spends money, and the consumer is not going to feel strong. Now, there's some initiatives and things that are underway that'll make it easier than if, we were all just left to our own devices. There's government programs, there's grants. There's going to be some good in the marketplace, but this is the biggest disruption that we've had since the Great Recession, and it may be bigger than the Great Depression. This is much bigger than the Great Recession already. Banks right now are having all their credit facilities called. There's runs on the banks occurring. There's all kinds of financial instability that's going to be occurring. And, with a projected unemployment rate of, high 20s, maybe even in the 30s, that's uncharted territory. And that's going to create a whole lot of unrest and uneasiness inside the system. So, I'm an optimist. Like I believe that there might be some good news, but I'm prepared right now and preparing for the worst. And that means that you have to work harder. You have to work every day. You can't take the weekends off like you used to. You can't allow yourself to get distracted with, this quarantine, right? It feels like we all just got a wonderful vacation. It's like, no, if everybody's taking vacation, that's when it's the key. So if everybody's taking vacation, that's when you have to do the work.
Yeah, love it, man. And going after the experience with you at AlterCall, I know I've shared this with you, but it was like, man, it almost makes me nervous and scared of the clarity and just calmness that I have during these times. And during times of chaos, man, you've gotta be calm, right? You got to be able to see clearly. You've got to be able to strategically think. And I know that you taught these modalities, to me personally, being at AlterCall, and others that are in the AlterCall family. But for those that aren't familiar with AlterCall, can you kind of talk about on a personal level with your routines, some of the things that you do, man, to keep that calm so you can see those opportunities and take advantage of the opportunities that this is going to breed?
Yeah. Well, as an entrepreneur, I was able to achieve some great success, but it would always come with burnout. I was, I would get an award or a trophy or a big payday, and I would just crash at the end of it. And I'd say, what's next? And sometimes I couldn't find something next. I became a best-selling author, and then I was like, well, do I want another #1 book? And I got another book out there, and it did really well. And then I went after this dream or that dream. And I found that, I was just constantly crushed on the inside. And I realized that people hold on to resentment. They hold on to regret. They hold on to their failures. They hold on to forgiveness issues, parental issues. And I was holding on to a lot of those things. And so I was able to, after I stepped down from Visalis as the CEO of that company, I was able to investigate different modalities that would help me find that place of peace and comfort and clarity, like you described. And the modalities are things that you do every single day. And so at AlterCall, we teach 9 different modalities. We teach different methods where the entrepreneur can become a whole being. And so they approach their work, on a mission, filled with cause, filled with passion. And they're no longer, subject to the marketplace trends. It's like whatever comes your way, it comes your way. When the times are tough, you have all the tools and the techniques and the methods and the modalities to address those times. When times are good, you're still doing the work every single day. So I like to teach entrepreneurs how to become whole. And I like to teach entrepreneurs how to get the stuff inside of them out that is stopping them from reaching their true potential. Because I would meet entrepreneurs that were multi-billionaires, and I'd ask myself, I'd done quite well, but I would say, what is it that drives this person? What is it that drives a Mark Zuckerberg, a Steve Jobs, a Warren Buffett, a Dan Gilbert? And what I found is all of them have such a deep-rooted purpose to the work that they're doing that it's not a question. And there were many times where I questioned the work that I was doing. Like, is it really worth it? Should I just go take off and go to an island and disappear? And then I would get money, and I'd be like, all right, I still want to work, though. I still want to do something, but I just didn't like the work I was doing. And so what I realized was the reason it wasn't always the work. It was the fact that I just had stuff inside of me that, that I needed to work on before I could really give my all of my energy into the work. So we like to take the entrepreneur, we like to get them activated. We take them through a transformational process, and then we take them through an elevation process, and then we take them through an activation process. At the end of the journey with us, they've gotten a lot of negative out so that they can really be as positive as they need to be and do the work that they're called to do.
Yeah, love it. And
like you, my brother.
Yeah, and I can't stress enough. I know I've said this, but it hands down the best experience in my life. And
awesome.
I'm outside of having kids, and but when it comes to for something that I've done for myself, right, to elevate myself and not just in a business way, right? But from in a fulfillment way. Because I mean, so many of us entrepreneurs, we get so driven that outside of winning in business, we're just miserable, and if those that are checking this out, man, you guys, to learn more about AlterCall, it's AlterCall.com, correct, Ryan?
No, we don't even have a website up yet. It's so new. Just follow me and go to the link in my bio, and you can learn more about what we're up to from there. We will have a website coming out pretty soon here, and we're actually revamping it from the modern times as we speak. Being that things change, we're changing as well, just like everybody else.
Yeah. Now I got to tell you, man, when I was at AlterCall with you, now this was like the weekend that Trump essentially shut the country down.
Yeah.
We're all at your house and really had no idea what was going on at that time. Like we were all off the grid, but you were saying, hey, we're gonna have to take this digital for some time. I'm like, man, don't you think that's a little premature yet? And, like everything that you said has just been on point. I mean, it's been amazing. Now something that you brought to available for everybody. And I've been showing up. I can't show up unfortunately 7 days a week, but I've been showing up 5 days a week.
I love it. Thank you.
Is your daily breath work and meditation and your daily prayer. And to be honest with you, if I would have heard about this 6-7 months ago, I'd have been like, oh man, that's a bunch of hippie BS, right? But I started some spiritual work about 6 months ago, and then went through the AlterCall experience, and I've been able to experience the power of it. What? Because you had kind of life before you got into these modalities. What kind of power has meditation and this breath work brought to you in your life from a personal standpoint as well as business?
Yeah, well, so there's a lot of science to back up meditation and breath work. And there's also, I want to really have everybody understand, when I talk about spirituality, there's a thing that's like, it's not spirituality for the sake of rules and religion. It's spiritual energy. It's where you feel connected to nature, connected to your family. You feel in a state of love. You get the chills often when you're talking to people, right? Like you just have this feeling of connection and this feeling like you're receiving energy from the forces at work that we cannot see. There's a lot of modern terminology that people are using. They call it the quantum field. What I found though in studying various religions was all of them had ways to tap into this energy force that exists around us. Some call it chakras or auras, or some call it God, some call it, whatever they want to call it. What I really like to do is I like to find the simplest way to get there. And so I research different meditation practices from different cultures and different spiritualities, and then I refine them and practice them. And what I realized was scientifically, meditation improves your IQ by 23%. It helps relax. It helps you relax. It helps you become more calm, become more clear. I mean, there's so many benefits to meditation. And breath work is the same. We as human beings, we forget how to breathe. And you can tell by measuring a person's breath how often they're in a state of stress or anxiety. So my thesis was, if I just teach them how to breathe and I get them breathing, they're going to reduce their stress and anxiety. And we've seen a ton of people coming through AlterCall that have done just that. And so when I realized, like as an entrepreneur, if you told me I could have a 23% IQ advantage, and then I could reduce the anxiety and the stress of being an entrepreneur by doing meditation and breath work, I was like, this sounds too good to be true. This is better than going to the gym, because I would go to the gym, I'd still be stressed. If I didn't go to the gym, I was really stressed, but I go to the gym and I'd still be pretty stressed, right? Didn't solve the problem. And so I realized there's got to be something in addition to going to the gym. Yes, I like to work out. I love to do martial arts. I love to train. But there's got to be other activities physically that I was missing. And one was breath work. The other is meditation. And then prayer. The way I see prayer is uploading. You're setting your intention. You're taking your thoughts and you're putting them out there with an intense intention. And so I like to teach people how to upload and to download, and then to get the stuff out of them that's stopping them from doing the work that they're capable of doing. So those are the 3 modalities I do daily. If any of your audience is interested in joining me, it's free. It's you just go to meditation.altercall.com, you register, and we do it each morning at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And Joshua, I see you there all the time. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah. No, it's amazing, you guys. And I know I've shared it on all of my pages, but I'm there every day but Mondays and Wednesdays, which I have prior commitments on those days, but I'm there 5 days a week. other than those days. So you'll
Love
see
it.
me there every single morning, and it's so powerful, dude. So one other thing that I wanted to ask you about that, if you could share with us, is, and I don't know if this goes hand in hand with being proactive, what you talked about a moment ago, but is responding versus reacting, and
Yeah.
how that can apply, especially in times like this that are a lot of stress going on. Can you kind of elaborate and share that with us?
Yeah, this was, so as an entrepreneur, I was always competitive, and I've always been into sports. I would always lose my temper, get upset. I'd react. And what I realized in my studies and the research we were doing is those reactions cost me a tremendous amount of energy. They damaged the relationships. I would react, somebody else would react. The next thing you know, we'd have conflict. People don't like each other. Reactions are a waste of energy. And the key is to turn your reactions when you find yourself reacting. And now, with kids at home, financial stress, we're not able to move around as much. We're not able to escape the reality of our home. A lot of us are in this state of constant reaction. We're losing our temper. We're being mean to people. We're having conflict, fight. We might be driven to self-medicate if we're constantly reacting. So the key is to be aware of when you react, and then to change your nature to a response. So when somebody says something you don't like, you respond, not react. You don't allow it to get to you. And after you're able to shift from a reactive nature to a responsive nature, then eventually you'll get proactive. I'll give you the best example I can give you. My son, about to turn 11 years old. I love him with all my heart. He's homeschooled. I have calls I got to do. I'm running a business. There's work being done at my house. He's not paying attention to the teacher in school. He's screaming my name. Dad, I'm on a conference call, and I want to react, right? So I'm like, Reagan, what? Right? That's a reaction. And then he all of a sudden got really sad, and he started tearing up. I was like, oh my gosh, I just made my son cry, right? That's not what I wanted to do. Now that, so I had to respond at that time and say, I'm sorry, your dad's, busy, he's under stress. And then I have to ask myself, well, how could I have responded in a way that would have told him I needed, some space, and I needed to be able to complete this call, but not had him feel like I wasn't listening to him, or he was insignificant, or I was, being mean to him, or whatever he felt like, right? So I had to change my my reactive nature to a response, so that way, he doesn't, react to me, because I react to him, he reacts to me, and we get nowhere. And then the second thing I asked myself in that situation was, how could I have been proactive, right? So proactive would have been sitting him down, letting him know Dad had a call, letting him, telling him it's really important that you're present to your teacher right now because Dad has a call and it's very important to me, getting his agreement, and then holding him accountable to that agreement, right? That would have been proactive. And so if you find yourself in a reactive nature, then you have to ask yourself, how could you have been more responsive, and how can you shift from reaction to respond and then be proactive? And the ultimate ninja level of the Jedi mind level is where you're proactive and not reactive, where you see this is going to create a reaction. Like, for example, if I'm single, but when I used to be in a relationship, I'd always be late, and I would say oh, I was working, really late. Well, if I would have just let that person know, 30 minutes ahead of time that I was going to be late, I wouldn't have had to deal with a reactive situation, right? So there's a lot of things that we can do, whether it be, respecting people's time, being proactive to mitigate the amount of reactions that we deal with in our lives. And when you're aware of the reactive nature of you and the reactive nature of other people, and you make a decision that you're not going to react, you're going to respond, and even beyond that, you're going to be more proactive, you'll change your entire life. So, and the other thing is anytime somebody, and this is a piece of advice, anytime somebody reacts to you, your goal is to respond. And the only thing that you should respond with is compassion, sympathy, and empathy. I used to respond with all kinds of other modalities, respond with anger, respond with justification. I would tell them I had every right to be late. I'd blame, wasn't my fault, the traffic. I'd minimize it. Oh, I wasn't that late. I deny it. I wasn't late at all. The meeting didn't start. Those are the things that people do when they're in a constant reactive environment. And so the key for you as entrepreneurs out there is to make sure that you never react. You only respond, and you respond with compassion. And then you seek to be proactive to try to mitigate that reaction from happening again.
Yep, love it. Powerful stuff, dude. So
Thank
then,
you.
one of my, and it's so hard to say after going through AlterCall to sit there and say, oh, one of my favorite modalities because they're all so powerful.
Yeah.
But one that I've been able to, that I started focusing on the most initially was restriction, and it's where I rated the lowest. When you had each of us rate ourselves, and one of the things that you talk about when it's coming to restriction is, okay, in order to have positive thoughts, you got to restrict the negative thoughts. And during this, I mean, it's hard enough as it is, but during a crisis like now, there's a lot of negativity and a lot of voices that can be happening in your head. What recommendation would you give people right now to be able to restrict those negative thoughts, to be more positive as we're continuing to navigate through these, day by day changes here with the coronavirus?
Yeah. Well, one, don't care about what other people think. Don't care about, like right now, you're going to survive. Like that's key, right? So just tell yourself, this isn't going to kill me. I'm going to make it through this. I'm going to get through this. So, there's no need for you to be in that fear state and that constant survival state. That is the most counterproductive state that you can possibly be in. And the key is to restrict that at all times. Restriction is a force. When you restrict alcohol, for example, right? You're healthier, and then you're able to share more. When you restrict, being on your email all night long, right? You're able to clear your mind before you go to sleep, and you'll have a better night's sleep. When you restrict things that distract you, you're able to concentrate more on the things that you seek to master. Restriction is the gateway to resilience and the gateway to discipline. And so I was never disciplined. And people would tell me, oh, just be more disciplined. And I'd be like, how do you become more disciplined? Like, it sounds like the most boring thing anybody can be, unless you're a military person and you've been trained in the subject of being disciplined and programmed in discipline. Like, being disciplined doesn't sound like fun. So I had to find another way to result in a disciplined life. And that was to exercise restriction. So anytime I catch myself thinking something negative, I restrict that negative thinking. I say, I'm not having that thought. Like, no, thank you. I don't have time for that thought right now. And I'll go into a meditation, or I'll do breath work, or I'll listen to great music, or I'll go outside, connect to nature, and just tune my ears to the birds, or call my son, or connect to my son, or deeply, spend some time, put my phone down, right? Like, you have to restrict the negative things coming your way. Otherwise, you're going to be inundated. People are going to hit you with, what's going on with them and their fear and their anxiety, and you're going to absorb all that stuff. And so you have to really make sure you restrict all of those things. And you have to restrict distractions right now. There are plenty of companies that want you to spend all day long on their apps, including the app we're on Netflix, and not working on your business. There are entrepreneurs trying to steal your attention. And you have to restrict those entrepreneurs and the desires around, being liked and the opinion of others and all of that stuff. So that way you can work on the things that you need to work on. So that way at the end of this quarantine, at the end of this pandemic, you're a better person, you're a stronger person, and you've come out of this and you're proud of yourself. Otherwise, you'll have regrets. So restriction is one of the most powerful modalities that I teach. I used to have so many problems with restriction. I couldn't restrict alcohol. I loved to have a drink, and it would turn into 10 drinks. I didn't restrict pizza. I would eat not one piece of pizza, but the whole pizza. I didn't restrict my temper. I would let it go, and I'd say, oh, that makes me me. My temper makes me me. I didn't restrict all kinds of things. And what I found was each thing that I've now learned to restrict has built a tremendous amount of resilience in me, a tremendous amount of discipline. And then now I'm working on mastery in subjects that I've never been able to work on mastery in, all because of restriction.
Yeah, love it, man. So then, I'm curious because it's one of these things where, let me kind of back up here. I mean, you're such a high level student, right? Like you're one of these guys, a student of life, student of the game at such a high level. And what are some sources? So we can stay aware, but without getting distracted by the media and so forth. Like, what are some recommended sources that those of us, whether in business or just trying to advance in whatever career that you have, that you would recommend that are trusted sources to be able to keep that awareness, but then not be distracted by the media and all the BS?
Well, for one, you have to shut off your phone, and like you have to have rules around your phone. So I always like to figure out how to get there by elimination. You know, like I was always, you know, I should read more. Well, that's great, but you know, I find myself drifting off into endless scrolling on Instagram or whatever it is, right? So you have to get to the sources by removing the other things in your life. Like any habit, you have to kill an old habit in order to add a new habit, right? So you have to make room for those things. So for one is make room. Books. I've fallen in love with classical music. A good documentary that is going to educate you and elevate you, right? Like spending time on that as opposed to wasting time on movies that aren't gonna, you know, that aren't gonna have any meaning to it. So trying to find meaningful things. I have had struggles with the news. I used to love to read the news. I still do. It's one of the things I have to actively restrict. And just looking at the feed of news, because I read the news. I love to read. It's all bad news, right? So like I have to look at it. There's no new news here. Like I like to turn on the news at night. I used to anyways. And I know that all I'm going to hear is the negativity. Like there's no benefit to me learning how bad this is. I should stay in. I should do my part. I should quarantine. I should wash my hands. I should make sure that I'm very cautious, you know, with the environment right now and do my best to mitigate getting this. But that's all I can do, right? Like the amount of deaths happening, the amount of tragedy happening, that you know, that's not serving me to really dive into all that negativity, right? There's nothing I can do to control that. There's no benefit to me being filled with, you know, so much negative information. I need to know where I stand. I check in once a day, like, you know, what's going on with the world business wise, you know, what do I need to know? But I don't need to spend, you know, much time on that. So I used to read the news a lot, and now I'm consciously cutting that out because there's just no point in me watching a 24-hour-a-day marathon about how bad the world is. That's going to go on for months on end here, right? And there just isn't any benefit to that. So I restrict the news right now as a big time. The other things is, you know, really just deeply diving into good music that is uplifting, that motivates you, like those old songs that you love, that make you feel a state of love, that make you feel good, right? Like right now you need to make sure that you're programming your environment with sounds and with feelings and meditations and things that really elevate you, because there's just so much trying to take you down. But books,
awesome,
documentaries, great music, tuning into lives like this, finding community, new communities out there to plug into virtually, because you can't plug into your old communities, your old networking type things, or your old works, right? So, you know, finding new people to meet and to connect with. And that's part of the reason why we created our daily meditation, is to really create new community out there.
Yeah. So speaking of books, man, you have two of my favorite all-time books and my most gifted books. I mean, I've given away hundreds of
Awesome.
your two books, Nothing to Lose, Everything to Gain, and Rock Bottom to Rock Star.
Yeah.
For those that haven't read your books, man, because I know you can buy them everywhere. You can't go to the airport without seeing them. You know, they're out there. But like, where's the best place, man, to go snag your books? Because they're I now get even asked, like, well, which one do I start with? Or, you know, which one's better than the other one? I'm like, man, they're such different journeys in different parts of your life. They're both so powerful. They're both just must reads.
Thank you. Well, I've you know, my artistic outlet is writing and then speaking, right? But I write first and speak second. So thank you for acknowledging my art. It's something I'm passionate about. There's really three things. There's three places you can get more. One is on Audible. Both books are on Audible. I actually did the narration for Rock Bottom to Rockstar. Two is I have a documentary for free on YouTube called Nothing to Lose, the documentary. And then three is you can buy Rock Bottom to Rockstar and Nothing to Lose everywhere where books are sold. I always recommend starting with Nothing to Lose and then going to Rock Bottom to Rockstar. I designed them when I wrote them to be both pretty quick reads and to give you a lot of practical principles and facts based on my entrepreneurial experience that you can apply in a real world setting. So, and then AlterCall, you know, is our movement that you're a part of. But, you know, my next book is going to be called AlterCall. It's going to teach people how to actually change, and it's going to give them the tools and the principles for change, because all of us are called to change. Like, I need to change. Right now, I have to change. I've done a lot of work, transformational work, but I have to change. The environment around me changed. I got to change with it. And a lot of times humans, we resist change because we don't have the tools. We don't know how to. And so I want to bring those tools to the world of change. Wherever you're at, you're going to have to change because the environment around you just changed, right? So the environment just completely changed. All of us have to change together. And the person that just adapts and says, all right, I'm signing up for change, those are the people that are going to be the most successful people. No doubt, it already is a recession. Anytime the GDP retracts, it's a recession. And we're not spending money in restaurants and bars and sporting events and ways that we used to. So we know GDP hasn't come out yet, but we know that it's down. We have no doubt in our mind that, that it's down and, millions of jobs are out there. And so the environment changed. You have to change now too. Every one of us. We all have an equal start though. And in fact, the people that already had very successful businesses have more to change. And they have an unfortunate start, right? They got to do all kinds of legacy work and unwind legacy systems and, and renegotiate contracts and cancel events and cancel things and lay off people, right? So they got to do all kinds of work to change the things that they've already done. If you're just starting out, like you have a head start to that of a person who has built a large infrastructure because they got more to change, right? So you have to change a lot less, but you still have to change. So every one of us, we're all at the same starting line right now. And at the end of this pandemic, there's going to be stories about people that built billion-dollar companies and built billion-dollar movements and elevated and did the work and became heroes. There's going to be stories about those people. I plan to be one of those stories. I know you do too, Joshua. And my goal is to help every person I can be one of those stories as well.
Yeah, so awesome, man. So yeah, I love it, dude. Love it, love it, love it. So again, Ryan, just in case somebody jumped on and missed it, and I know you're extremely busy and you've taken so much time with us already today, but I want to make sure people know how to get in touch with you if they want to get more information, again, about AlterCall, which, like I told you after going through the experience, man, I've spent over $1 million on programs and coaches and different conferences, and hands down, by far, the best investment I've made, not just in my business, but in me personally, right? It's allowed me to elevate, to become a better husband, a better father, a better leader, a better entrepreneur. And it's something that, in my opinion, everybody needs to go through this experience. So dude, where's the best place to get in touch with you, to follow you, to learn more about AlterCall again?
Yeah, Real Ryan Blair. You can follow me right now. If you DM me, I reply myself. There's an application in my bio to join the AlterCall movement. Fill it out. We'll get on the phone with you. We'll talk to you about where you're at, what you need to work on, and give you a quick assessment. My team is still working through this. We see ourselves as an essential business, right? We're helping people change and transform in these times. And, I'd love to get in touch with you, and I'd love to meet any of your followers that want to dive in and do some deep transformational work and elevate, to the new reality that we all face.
Yeah, love it. And you guys, I highly recommend that you check it out immediately. Also check out Ryan's books and come meditate with us, man, every single day. I'm telling you guys that you'll jump on there one time, and how you feel and transform after one time, because it's only about 20 minutes every morning, 9 a.m. Pacific time, right? So meditation.altercall.com, correct, Ryan?
That's the link. Yeah, all you got to do is register. We'll send you an email with the link. We get together via Zoom every single day. I'd love to have you guys join me 9 a.m. Pacific time every day. Meditation.altercall.com.
Yeah, awesome. All right, well, thank you so much, Ryan, for taking all this time,
Joshua.
man. Yeah, no, God bless you, man. Truly appreciate you, my friend.
All right, talk to you soon, my brother.
All right, thanks, Ryan. Thank you guys for watching. Listen, we'll see you next time.